Picture the late Cretaceous sea from a human height, low-angle gaze. A huge, dark back breaks the surface, then slides under with barely a ripple. That's Mosasaurus, an air-breathing marine lizard, not a dinosaur, shaped by water and speed. It carried a shark-like tail, a lizard's skull, and lungs big enough to cruise for minutes between breaths. Today, we're diving into the facts that made this predator the sea's lizard king. Its fluke, its throat, its color, and the fossil trail that proved it all. Watch closely. Mosasaurus rewards patience with sudden violence. Start with the body plan. Mosasaurus stretched longer than a city bus, often 10 to 13 meters for the biggest species, like Mosasaurus hoffmanni. Its front and back limbs flattened into stiff paddles for steering, not power. The real engine sat behind. A deep, two-lobed tail fin, driven by strong muscles and a flexible spine. With the head steady, the back half whipped side to side. Those carangiform beats push water into a smooth jet that starts slow, then spikes. It's a sprinter's stroke on a long-distance frame, perfect for quiet cruising and violent bursts. Now, the business end. The skull was a clamp built for grip and swallow. Each jaw could open wide, and the lower jaws flexed inward at an extra joint, helping the mouth expand around bulky prey. Teeth were conical, sharp, and constantly replaced from within the jaw. Fresh points ready as old ones wore down. Inside the upper mouth, a second line of pterygoid teeth on the palate helped pull food backward. When Mosasaurus bit, it didn't just hold, it ratcheted prey into the throat, where powerful muscles finished the job. Think conveyor belt, not scissors. Here's the first turn. Mosasaurus didn't crawl ashore to lay eggs, it gave birth in the sea. Fossils of baby and juvenile mosasaurs found far from coasts, plus pregnant specimens from related forms, point to live birth and an ocean life cycle. That rewrites the routine. No risky beaching, no nest guarding. Newborns launched straight into the water column, where safety meant growing fast and staying unseen. For a surface-breathing reptile, the open sea sounds like a gamble. But evolution stacked the deck, shape, color, and stealth to match a world of light and shadows. Hunting began with angles and light. Mosasaurus likely patrolled below schools and silhouettes, using countershading and the sun to hide its approach. From beneath, a pale belly blurred into the glow above. From above, a dark back faded into depth. It glided with minimal paddle flicks, then snapped the tail into a sprint. Victims met a forward-lunging head, then that flexing throat, and those inner palate teeth. Gut contents and bite-scarred fossils tell the menu. Fish, cephalopods, turtles, even other mosasaurs. This was not a grazer. It was the punctuation mark at the end of a food chain. Evidence of diet shows in broken shell fragments, slashed bones, and tooth marks matched to mosasaur dentitions, including Mosasaurus. Some shells carry repeated punctures like a can opener, consistent with probes from conical teeth. Stomach residues include fish bones, squid-like beaks, and acid-etched chunks of reptile bone. Even ribs from other mosasaurs show healed bite marks, proof of rough fights and maybe cannibalism. All of it fits the toolkit. Grab, wrestle, swallow. The paddles stabilized turns, the long body steered like a torpedo, and the tail reset for another burst. Efficiency wastes nothing. Second hook. This terror was a squamate, kin to living monitor lizards and snakes. Its land lizard ancestors took to the shoreline, then surf, then the blue. In about 20 million years, a short geological blink, they traded ankles for paddles, belly dragging for hydrodynamics, and shore lungs for deep cruise breath holds. Evolution's speed was helped by lizard traits: flexible skulls, rapid tooth replacement, and fast growth. Bone studies show dense, fast-growing tissue that hints at higher metabolisms than most modern lizards, useful for warm, busy seas. This wasn't a sluggish drifter. It was tuned for motion. Soft tissue clinches the swimming story. Fossils preserving body outlines reveal a proper fluke, not just a tapering tail tip. In closely studied mosasaurs, the back of the tail bends downward into a larger lower lobe with a smaller upper lobe, a hypocercal fin that behaves like a built-in propeller. That shaped the thrust. Tail, not paddles, did the heavy lifting. The front paddles acted as trim tabs, tilting the body up for a breath, locking in banked turns, bracing for lunges. If you've seen older art showing an eel-like tail whip across the whole body, update that mental image. The action lived in the last third. Skin tells us more than texture. Some mosasaurs preserve tiny keeled scales arranged in tight patterns that stiffened the outer body, reducing drag and keeping the flow attached along the sides. Chemical traces in related specimens show melanin distribution consistent with countershading, darker on top, lighter below. Put it together, and Mosasaurus reads like a stealth torpedo. Dark back to vanish into blue, pale belly to fade into light, rigid outer skin to cut bubbles, powerful tail to erase distance. Nothing flashy, everything functional. A predator built from simple rules that time perfected. Third turn. Myth check. Mosasaurus wasn't a whale and didn't breach like one as a routine move. It breathed air and probably surfaced with a rolling rise. Mouth closed, quick exhale and inhale, then down. Leaping a multi-ton body from the sea costs too much energy for too little gain. It also wasn't a dinosaur, though it outlived many of them and swam the same Late Cretaceous calendar pages. And that movie-sized giant? The largest Mosasaurus likely topped around 12 to 13 meters. Immense, yes, but still a reptile bound by lungs, physics, and food. Now, the fossil that rewrote extinction. In the late 1700s, near Maastricht in the Netherlands, quarry workers uncovered a colossal skull in chalk laid down by the Cretaceous Sea. Scientists debated its identity until Georges Cuvier argued it was a giant marine lizard, an animal with no living match. That Mosasaurus skull helped convince Europe that extinction was real. The great animal of Maastricht wasn't hiding on some distant shore. It was gone. From that bone, paleontology grew teeth. A dead reptile from a warm chalk sea changed how we think about life's story. Step back into the setting. Where did Mosasaurus hunt? In the western interior seaway that split North America, in the epicontinental seas of Europe, and across warm global waters in the late Cretaceous. These were shallow to deep basins loaded with plankton, fish, squid-like cephalopods, and turtles. Chalk formed from countless coccolith plates drifting down like marine snow. Visibility ranged from milky to blue, with light shafts and suspended dust giving perfect cover. For a tail-driven hunter, that meant edges, shelf breaks, current lines, and sunlit zones where silhouettes betrayed careless shapes near the surface. Breathing set the rhythm. Mosasaurus likely surfaced with deliberate calm, refilled those big lungs, and sank again with a slow tail beat. The paddles trimmed its pitch and yaw like airplane control surfaces, keeping the head level for a stealth silhouette. In that state, a meter-second's mistake by prey became a career-ending choice. Bones show scars from fights and failed meals. Teeth snapped, jaws healed. Life at the top was dangerous even for the top. But a long rib cage, strong muscles, and a flexible neck gave this reptile the margin it needed to miss, reset, and strike again. Then the clock ran out. At the end of the Cretaceous, global chains snapped. An asteroid impact and its aftershocks dimmed light, cooled surfaces, and hammered food webs. Plankton crashed, ammonites vanished. With the middle layers gone, apex hunters fell. Mosasaurus, tied to air in a marine food pyramid, had nowhere to retreat. Fossil layers show the suddenness. Above certain chalks and marls, their teeth and bones thin to none. That's the silence of a vanished dynasty. The sea kept rolling, but its lizard kings were finished within a geological heartbeat. What's left today is legacy, not lineage. Mosasaurus has no direct descendants, but its family tree sits close to living monitor lizards and snakes. The design rules that worked, streamlined bodies, tail-powered thrust, stealth colors, reappear whenever the ocean invites reptiles or mammals back in. Convergence writes the same solution in different bodies. But this one was pure squamate, scales, replaceable teeth, flexible jaws, live birth at sea. A lizard took the ocean's crown, wore it well, and handed it back when the lights went out. The bones tell us enough to be sure. So, hold the picture one last time. A dark-backed shape sliding under a chalk blue surface, a careful breath, the quiet tilt down, then a blur as the tail detonates the water. A mouth catches light, then closes. The body rolls, steadies, disappears. That's Mosasaurus, faster than it looks, smarter than it needs to be, and exactly as ruthless as evolution demands. It wasn't a dinosaur. It was the sea's lizard king, tuned by water, built for ambush, confirmed by stone. If you could watch 5 minutes in that sea, where would you point your camera first?